Hey, Trail Kreitzer over at goHUNT. It's hard to believe, but it's already elk season, and I've had some luck this year. I was actually able to come up with a couple of different elk tags, both of them archery elk hunts. I've got a Utah elk tag. I've also got a New Mexico elk tag. Like I said, both of those bow hunts, prime time of the rut, so it should be a good fall. I'm gonna run you through my gear list for the year. I primarily like to backpack hunt. I may do some day hunting in Utah, but for the most part, I'm a guy that likes to live off my back for an elk hunt. I like to keep a mobile camp. I like to keep moving with the elk. I just feel like it gives me the advantage, and I'm closer to those animals every single day. I feel like if I can be in the elk woods more often, I'm gonna eventually tip the tides in my favor, and I'm gonna be able to come up with an opportunity to harvest a nice bull. So that's kind of my approach to elk hunting. I'm going to run you through my entire list, everything from optics, clothing systems, my weapon, camping. I got everything kind of laid out here on the table right now for starters. I'm going to break these out individually. I'm going to run through my sleep system, my camp kitchen, water, what goes within my possible pouch, optics, and everything else included in this system. I will say before I get too deep into this, we are going to have this entire gear list as a collection in our gear shop. So you can click on that collection. You can see absolutely every piece of gear that I use from the goHUNT gear shop, and you can pick some of that up if you want to. So moving into my miscellaneous gear. On the end here, I've got my elk calls. So my very favorite external, reed calls, mouth, bite and blow, if you will, are these Phelps Easy Estrus game calls. I've got a wood one and an acrylic one. Why would you need two? Well, because I set them on the mountain and I walk off and leave one all the time. So I always carry two of those. For me, those are the easiest. I can't always produce the best sound that I want to with a diaphragm call. I just haven't yet spent enough time practicing, even though I'm a pretty seasoned elk hunter at this point. But I do like these external bite and blow calls. I do carry diaphragms. I use those for cow calls and also bugles. Some of my favorites are the Phelps Maverick, which is Dirk Durham's signature call. That's probably my very favorite. I did recently buy about 10 new calls and I've just been trying them. I found that I really like these pitch black series, so I like the number 2 and the number 1 of those. I also like the gray one and the black call from Phelps, and those are the amp calls. So I'll typically pack maybe 3 or 4 different reeds, diaphragm reed calls for use for bugling and like I said, for cow calling as well. Power and headlamps. So right here on the end, I've got a Goal Zero Nomad 7 solar panel. I don't always pack that. If I'm going out for 10 days, I will pack it because it is a sure power source all the time. I can hook this directly up to my phone or to my inReach, and I can charge that if I've got good sunlight. I like to charge this during the middle of the day directly to my power bank, so I've always got a full power bank. Like I said, if I'm going on shorter hunts, maybe 3 to 5 days, I don't always pack it. But for that really long stuff, out to 10 days, I will pack it. For a power bank, it's pretty simple. I just like these little on power banks that I picked up at Walmart. They can charge my phone maybe 4 to 5 times. I've had really good luck with these little things. They are a little bit heavier than some of your other options, but I've always got good service out of these, and it's relatively cheap. And like I said, I just picked it up at Walmart. Garmin inReach. So I've got the old inReach SE. I've had this thing at this point for probably 10 years. I just haven't replaced it with an inReach Mini or the Mini 2. If I were buying right now, I would definitely consider that Mini 2. It's a great option. But I definitely think everybody needs an inReach satellite messenger. When you head out into the woods, you just never know what's going to happen. And this is a great resource to keep you in touch with loved ones. Headlamps. I've got a Black Diamond Spot headlamp. This is a really simple, really lightweight headlamp. Bright enough that it does the job. It's got really long battery life, which is something I like. So that's the Black Diamond Spot. I always carry a backup headlight. I carry that in my kill kit. I just like always having the option of a second light in case something happens to my primary headlamp. So this one is the Petzl Bendy headlamp. It's really lightweight and it's actually relatively bright for the size and the weight of this headlamp. So that's my backup one. It always goes in my kill kit. Moving over to my kill kit, I've got game bags here, so I've got 5 game bags here. I've got a mix of game bags that I've used over the years. I think some of my very favorites are the Caribou Gear game bags that come in the Carnivore High Country kit. They tend to be the right size for boned out meat, so you bone out a hind quarter or front quarter. You can fit that in one of those bags and it fits really nice. Makes it really easy to carry and keeps it compact inside your frame when you're carrying meat. So that's the Caribou Gear game bags. I've also got some Argali game bags. That one's a brand new one right there. Again, very similar size. You've got the reflective signature on the front, which is great if you're trying to find that thing at night, and a headlamp. It's got draw cords, which is really great. These are really lightweight. So these Argali game bags are super lightweight. But I will carry, 5. So, 4 loose meat bags if I'm boning out an elk, and I also typically have a game bag for carrying a cape in and just keeping that thing together. If I kill one big enough, then I'm going to cape it out and mount it. So I'll have 4 to 5 game bags with me at all times. And I like those Caribou and those Argali game bags. So I have a combination of those. Moving over to knives. Brand new this year is the Goat Ibex knife, which is their super lightweight titanium knife. Really, really lightweight option. If you're looking to ditch weight, this thing's less than an ounce. So I'm going to use that little Goat Ibex knife. I will often pack, and even though it's a little bit added weight, I'll often pack a fixed blade knife to go with that little Ibex. The Ibex is a replaceable blade knife, so it uses the little number 60 blades from like Havalon. So I'll often pack like 5 or 6 of those. But like I said, I do pack a fixed blade knife. The reason I do have 2 knives, I like these little replaceable blade knives for cutting hide. So like if I'm cutting hide up the middle of an animal and you need a really sharp knife to make short work of that hide, these work great. When I get into actually skinning an animal or pulling out back straps, I like a fixed blade knife. Anytime I'm dealing with like cutting a joint, I like a fixed blade knife. They're just stiffer, so they're a little bit more stiff and durable. I don't break blades like I do with these little Havalon blades. So even though it's a little bit of added extra weight, I do really like a fixed blade knife. And again, I like to pair that with that Argali belt, and I'll touch on that here in a minute as part of my clothing system. But this Goat knife is the carbon titanium handle, and then like I said, it's a fixed blade. Really nice knife. I also pack a saw. So this is the Outdoor Edge Grizz saw. That one's still got some leftovers on it from last season. I pack a saw where maybe a lot of people won't, because I often use it for cutting shooting lanes. If I'm hunting early season hunts and the bulls aren't really fired up, but I've got a wallow that's definitely getting hit, I often use this saw to cut shooting lanes. So I might sit on a wallow and use this to cut out a nice little alleyway for me to shoot in. I've also, cut down trees or branches to use, hang my pack from or pitch a tarp. So this little saw comes in handy. It also comes in really handy when you're skull capping a bull. So if you're going to cut that skull cap out of a bull, this thing makes short work of it. So I really like that little Outdoor Edge Grizz saw. I do use trekking poles. I usually have one in my hand, in my left hand, then my bow in the other. And I'll keep the other one strapped to my backpack. And that's because when I kill an animal, I want that added stability when I got a lot of weight on my back. So I do like 2 trekking poles. These are the Black Diamond Alpine Carbon Cork. This is an old set of trekking poles that I've had forever. And you can see it's 2 different poles from 2 different years. Same model, just different years. I left one pole in Kodiak Island, and I left another pole in New Mexico. Just walked off and left it when I was in the heat of a hunt. So I've got a pair kind of combined together at this point. Moving over just to the loose gear, I've got my fire kit. So I always carry a Bic lighter. I always carry about 15 to 20 weatherproof matches, and I always carry these little UST wet fire cubes. So I'll have maybe 6 or 8 of those wet fire cubes that I can get a fire going whenever I need it. We also sell pyro putty in the gear shop, which has been massively popular, and that stuff works great. So pick up a little tub of pyro putty and it works awesome. Other loose gear that I carry, toothbrush. I've got just a little travel toothbrush that fits in the handle. I've got a small thing of toothpaste. I've been carrying this in recent years because, like I said, most of my hunts are maybe that 5 to 6 days, and then I'm either relocating or just coming out to get food, so I don't mind a little bit of added weight. I have squeezed toothpaste out on the wax paper, folded it over, and that makes a nice lightweight option. You always got some toothpaste. You don't have to carry the added weight of a toothpaste container, so there's a little tip for you. A new piece this year that I'm going to carry around with me is this little Matthews stay afield system. So that's this little cable, and in conjunction with these new V3X bows, you can actually replace your strings. So I'll be taking that with me and probably keep it in my truck, to be honest, and along with a backup set of strings. So if I have an issue with the cable or string, I need to replace those on my bow and get back out into the field. I'm going to use that little stay afield system from Matthews. I always carry a Sharpie with me for signing tags. If I need to leave a note for a buddy, I can do that. So I always carry a black Sharpie. I wrap that handle with duct tape and Leuco tape. Looks like I pulled the Leuco tape off probably for a hunt, so I need to replenish that. But I always wrap that with a little bit of duct tape, and like I said, that Leuco tape is the best stuff. If you got some blisters, nothing better than Leuco tape on a heel to save you from pain. Medical kit. My medical kit is pretty basic. I carry some bandages. I carry a suture kit. I carry a variety of medications, including ibuprofen, some Tylenol, headache medicine, some Imodium AD. If you're having stomach issues, I do have a small suture kit within this thing, and I also have some stronger drugs if things ever got really, really bad and I needed some painkillers to last me until rescue got there. So I do have some painkillers in there that'll help me out if I needed it. Pretty basic medical kit. I know that my medical kit probably needs to be revisited. I could probably beef it up a little bit, but I've been using that for a bunch of years without any issues. I always carry 3 backup batteries, so I've got 3 AA batteries. Typically, I like to buy lithium batteries when I replenish these because they're a little bit lightweight. You get long life out of them. Those are backups for my headlamp. I always carry some cordage. So this is this Slickline cordage. It's available on Z-Pack's website online, and it's a special cord. It's really slick, so it doesn't bind or pinch when you pull it over a branch, and it's really, really strong. It's got really high tensile strength. So I really like this Z-Line cord, highly recommend it. It is pricey, but it's a great cord for hanging game bags or your gear if you're hunting in bear country. I got a couple of Allen screw heads. These little heads will come with some of the goat knives. You can see the goat knives are fitted with a receiver, and you can thread those in. So those are 2 sizes that accompany parts and pieces on my bow. So like my rest, I could get another one that goes to my back quiver bar mount if I have any issues there, so I can tighten those down with the handle of the knife and these little Allen wrench cords, which are great. I do, carry a bugle. You got to have a bugle if you're hunting elk in the elk woods. So this is the Phelps metal bugle tube, a little bit heavier, but I've been playing with this thing at home. And it sounds really, really good. You can get really nice volume out of it. So I think I'm going to take that with me into the woods this year, even though it's a little bit heavier. Phelps metal bugle tube. I always carry a glassing pad, AKA doormat. So, you got your camp set up. This is a great little option for you to lay outside your tent or your bivvy. You could stand on it in the night if you got to take a pee. Just works as a great little doormat, or like I said, as a glassing pad during the day. Weighs next to nothing, so there's no reason you shouldn't have that in your backpack. And then finally, backpack. I'm going to use the Stone Glacier Terminus this year, which is a new pack for them. It's an internal frame backpack. Super lightweight, so I can ditch some weight with this pack versus like a Sky 5900 or a Sky Archer 6400. This material is waterproof, which is one of the primary reasons I'm really interested in this pack. I'm talking to Andrew at Stone Glacier. He's saying he really sees no need to carry a rain fly. So I'm going to test them on that, and that's one of the big reasons I decided I'm going to use this pack. It's 7,000 cubic inches, which is big enough for the style of hunting I do, which is mostly like, you know, backpack bivvy style hunting. The one limitation potentially for this pack is it does not have a meat shelf between the bag and the frame. It's an internal frame pack complete. So if I kill something, I'm going to need to, you know, bone out a load of meat and slide that internally into the sleeve and be able to fit my other gear around that. So that is one potential downfall. I know that they do not hype this bag as an elk hunter's backpack, and I understand why. I'm just at a point where if I can ditch some weight, if it's waterproof, and if I'm going to end up making multiple trips, or I may potentially be able to get a horse packer in to help me out, why not ditch some weight and try this backpack out? So I really like this pack, and I'm excited to use it this year on my elk hunt. So once again, that's a Stone Glacier Terminus backpack. I do use a accessory pocket, just one on my right hip. I'll often put an elk call in there or a backup release, you know, any gear that I need really close at hand. A lot of the time I'll put my digiscope adapter in that pocket. But that's my pack. That's kind of my loose miscellaneous gear. Next I'm going to jump over to my weapon, and I'll run through that. All right, so I'm going to run through my bow for this year. The bow is a Mathews V3X 33. Been my favorite bow. I've shot a bunch of bows over the last 15, 20 years. And I can really confidently tell you that this is my very favorite hunting bow I've ever owned. The platform just really fits me. Axle to axle, 33 inches. I shoot a 30-inch draw. And the string angle, the geometry of this bow, the length of the riser, it just really holds and shoots really well for me. So I'm excited to get this bow out into the field again for 2022. For a sight, I'm using Excel Landslide. I shoot a 5-pin AccuStat head on that Landslide sight. It is a slider sight, so I've got 5 pins, 20 through 60, and then the ability to dial, 70, 80, 90 yards with that bottom pin if I needed to make a second shot on an animal. That sight's been really nice for me. It's really lightweight. One of the great things about it is it fits really well within this bridge lock technology in this Mathews bow. Slides right through the riser, sucks down tight. I've had no play, no issues whatsoever with that sight, and I would say right now it's my very favorite. I do like a 5-pin sight, like I said, especially for hunting elk. Elk are such a big dynamic animal. They're moving through the woods. I've had bulls come in and go from 60 to 20 to 40 yards before I actually had an opportunity to get a shot. And in those situations, I don't want to have to think about moving my sight or moving a single pin sight. I really like having multiple pins with multiple reference points for aim, no matter what the situation is. So I love that sight. For rest, I'm shooting a Trophy Taker Smackdown Pro. I've used that for a bunch of years. It's a limb-driven rest, ties into my bottom limb. I just keep going back to it because it works. It's foolproof for me. Stabilizer setup, I'm using a AAE Mountain Series stabilizer. On the front bar, it's 15 inches. I'm shooting 3 ounces of weight on the front bar. No quick disconnect in the front. I'm just screwing that directly into the riser mount. I did some playing around with different, 8, 10 degree, even straight mounts, and I just like the way that this bow holds and shoots with just directly screwing that into the front of the riser. I am shooting a back bar on this hunting bow. I'm shooting a back bar bracket, which is the Shrewd, Mathews version, Atlas back bar bracket. That works really well with the Mathews bows. It's a really nice, clean, tight fit to the riser. You do have a quick disconnect incorporated into that bracket that goes to your back bar, which is great because you can remove that very easily for transport if you need to, or if you're carrying your bow on your backpack, that makes it nice. So I am shooting a back bar. It's a 10-inch Mountain Series AAE stabilizer. I shoot quite a bit of weight on the back of my back bar, even for my hunting bow, so I've got 10 ounces of weight on that. My philosophy on a bow and the weight of the overall bow is that I don't mind packing extra weight because those shots, when given the opportunity, they mean so much to me that I really want to capitalize on those opportunities. So I shoot a bow that I feel confident in, even though it's a little bit heavier and I'm carrying that thing around through the woods. So again, I've got 10 ounces of weight on that back bar. Peep sight, 5/32, just a Fletcher peep. I do take the grip off my bow and just wrap the riser with tennis racket tape. But that's my bow setup. Like I said, I'm shooting 70 pounds, 68, 70 pounds, 30-inch draw. I'm shooting about 288 feet per second with this bow. And I'm going to touch on my arrow setup next and kind of run you through that. So I'm shooting gold tip platinum pierce 300 spine arrows. Total finished arrow weight is about 462 grains. The end of this arrow, I've got a 100-grain broadhead. I've had a lot of good luck with slick trick broadheads. I've shot the 4-blade standard broadheads for a bunch of years and done really well with those. This year, I'm going to shoot the Viper Tricks, which has a slightly larger cutting surface there. It also has a couple smaller bleeder blades. I like the way those blades interlock through the ferrule, which gives it strength and rigidity. I've had great luck with slick trick broadheads, so I'm going to continue to shoot those for elk this year. I screw that broadhead into an insert, which is not a gold tip. It's actually an Easton insert. So this Easton titanium insert is an insert that they sold for the injection arrows, the 4mm injection Eastons. It's a 55-grain titanium insert. The thing I like about that is it gives me a little bit added FOC. It also has extremely tight tolerances. So all the arrows that I've built up with these, screwed the broadheads on, they've all spun really, really true. So I'm pumped about the way that these arrows came together with the half-out Easton insert, the slick trick broadhead. On this end of the arrow, I'm shooting 4 boning heat vanes. I always said I wouldn't shoot 4 fletch because I do genuinely hate fletching arrows. But, I fletched these up and I've been shooting them at the range and I really like the way the 4 fletch shoots. These boning heat vanes are really stiff. They're really quiet in flight and they give really good stability. So I'm going to run with these boning heat vanes in a 4 fletch configuration. I do fletch these up with a Bitzenberg jig with a helical clamp. With an ever so slight offset on that helical clamp. But if you were to look at those, it's just ever so slightly offset. It's maybe 3 to 4 degrees, I would say, on each one of those vanes. I shoot just standard gold tip components for nock, so that's a 166 nock with a standard gold tip pierce collar. If you're shooting a lot of arrows in the summer in practice, that little collar will save you some arrows. So some arrows that otherwise wouldn't survive when you're shooting groups will make it through just because of that little collar. So I recommend that collar. For a quiver, people always ask, where's your quiver? In videos, whether it's, us having fun out in the warehouse or on the caribou hunt. I don't mount a quiver to my bow. I just don't like the way the bow shoots with a quiver. I don't like the way it holds with a quiver. Acts as a big sail on that side if there's any kind of breeze or wind, so I don't shoot one. What I do use is a tight spot 5-arrow quiver, but I use that on a hip quiver mount. This little hip quiver mount is made by a company called Total Peep. You can see it's got a slot here. Your belt slides through that. You just mount that onto your belt and you can carry that as a hip quiver. It does have a little quick detach option right here, so you just open the lever up and you can pull your quiver off if you need to. You can put that hip quiver onto your belt, you can put it on the hip belt of your pack, whatever works best for you. But like I said, I just really like the way a bow shoots without a quiver on it. This thing carries really nicely, so I'm not going to use a quiver on my bow, I'll just put it on a hip quiver. And then lastly, I've got a little piece of equipment that I can never go into the woods without. That's my release. So that's a True Ball HT Pro release. It's a 4-finger brass hinge release. I do shoot a hinge for hunting. I have done for 11 years at this point. So that's my bow setup for the year. Next, I'm going to grab my sleep system. We'll throw it up here on the counter and give you a look at what I'm working with as far as backpack camping, sleep system for the year. All right, so I'm going to run you through my sleep system. So my sleep system is kind of based around my method, my preferred method of hunting, which is keeping that mobile camp. So on the bottom here, I've got, a staple in my gear list. I think I've included this every single year. It's hands down my very favorite sleeping bag, which is the Western Mountaineering Versalite sleeping bag. It's a 10-degree down sleeping bag. This is the long version. I'm 6'2", so I like the long. It's just over 2 pounds, so like 2 pounds, 1 ounce for a 10-degree bag. I really like the loftiness of a Western Mountaineering bag. They're really lofty, really warm. And like I said, this has been a staple in my gear list for quite a few years. I do carry a pillow. A pillow just helps me sleep better at night. There's a lot of years that I suffered through with just stuffing a down jacket into a stuff sack. And although, I did okay, it got me by. At this point, I think there's a better option, which is this little Sea to Summit Aeros ultralight pillow. It's like just over 1 ounce. So for not much weight, I can get better sleep at night. So I always pack that thing. It looks like it needs a wash, but you inflate that thing, takes probably 4 or 5 breaths, and you can deflate it. And like I said, it weighs next to nothing and fits in your pack, takes up no space. For shelter, I got a couple of options. So like, I've touched on in years past, I'm a guy that likes to use bivy sacks. I like the mobility that it offers me. I like to get in bed really quick at night. I would like to get all my stuff together and loaded very easily in the morning. And a bivy sack allows me the opportunity to do that. It's a real mobile option for camping. So the bivy sack that I've been using for the last couple of years is called the Hilleberg Bavana Rack. I saw this at a trade show a number of years ago, and although it's been in their lineup for a while, I haven't seen too many people talking about it, but it makes a lot of sense for the type of hunting I do. So essentially what it is just a long bivy sack that also has sleeves and a hood. So you could use this thing as an emergency set of rain gear if you needed, and it'd go clear to your feet, which is great. It does have a center zip on the one side, so it's very easy to load your sleeping pad and your sleeping bag in. It's roomy enough that you can fit both your pad and your bag in, which is kind of a necessity for a bivy sack for me. I have to be able to fit both of those in. It breathes really well. It's got a draw cord at the base of this bivy sack, which a lot of bivy sacks don't. If you get condensation in your inside of your bivy, it typically builds up towards the foot box, and it can get your sleeping bag wet over 2 or 3 days. This one breathes better. It doesn't do that because of that draw cord, and you can open that thing up when the weather's fair. So that's the Hilleberg Bavana Rack, and I love that thing. Been using it for a couple of years, and I really like it. Sleeping pad. I've been a big fan of the Thermarest Neo Air X Lite. It's got a slightly tapered foot box. It's got the horizontal baffles, which is great for side sleepers like me. Kind of keeps my hip up off the ground and sleeps really comfortable. One gripe, it is a little bit noisy, but for me, when I'm out hunting, I sleep just fine at night. I don't have to worry about the sound of it. But that's been my favorite. It's got a good R value, provides good insulation. What I would say typically like that August through October time frame. So Neo Air X Lite, and then for a tarp or a shelter, this is the Seek Outside Eolus 2-person tent. This is the ultralight Dyneema version of this tent. This is a 2-person tent. You pitch that with your trekking poles. I can fit 2 people in it, but it's a palace for myself and just all my gear. It's really easy to pitch with a set of trekking poles and just a few stakes. So I carry 8 of these little MSR needle stakes that weigh next to nothing. So those 8 needle stakes paired with this Seek Outside Eolus tent is a great little shelter that I pitch when it looks like the weather's going to get nasty. So if I'm going to get some rain, some snow, I'll pitch that. Otherwise, I don't worry about it at all. I just go with the bivy sack and I keep a real mobile camp. So that's my sleep system. Next up, I'm going to grab my clothes and I'll run you through my clothing system for the year. All right, so my clothing system. You want to put a lot of thought into picking the clothes that you're going to wear on a hunt. You can get by with lesser gear, but you can certainly be more effective with the right clothing setup in the elk woods. So I would definitely recommend you spend some time thinking about it, selecting your gear as you go. So starting from this end, hats. I always carry a sun hat, so this is just the Sitka sun hat. You know, it can get really hot in August when that hunt opens up for me for elk. So this Sitka sun hat's really breathable. It's got nice mesh sides, so you can dump body heat, sweat. It weighs next to nothing. You can fold that thing up and put it in your pack, but I always carry this Sitka sun hat with me. A ball cap, you always got to have a ball cap. These are new for us. This is the goHUNT wax caps. That's just a basic ball cap in a nice coyote brown color. Moving into base layers, these Outdoor Research Echo Boxers have been some of my favorite. These things are really, really lightweight. We have great options in the shop, whether you're looking at sacks or these, but these have been my preference, and the ones I'm going to use for this year. They're really lightweight, really breathable. All right, moving along with my base layers. New for me this year is the Stone Glacier Chinook merino base layer. So this is a short sleeve t-shirt, merino wool. It's a little bit heavier than some of your typical merino wool tops. One of my favorite things about this is the fill. It's really nice and soft, and it also fits really, really well. So it's a little bit longer in the torso, which I like. This is a great base layer. I have the long sleeve version of this, and it's been great. So I'm going to run that for a base layer. Over the top of that, one of my very favorite pieces of all time is the Sitka Core lightweight hoodie. I can use these interchangeably, the Stone Glacier and the Sitka as a base layer. If I wet one out and I need one to dry during the day, I can peel that off and hang it up to dry and wear the other if I want to. Or I can layer these, which I typically do. And this is, camouflage, subalpine. I'm still holding on to the camouflage. I think it can offer you a little bit of advantage at times. It can give you that extra moment, maybe when you need it, when an animal's close. So, subalpine Sitka Core or lightweight hoodie. Moving over to pants. I was fortunate enough to get a pair of these last year. These were released in the spring of this year, but I had a chance to wear them last fall. And this is the Fjällräven Keb Agile pant. And I would say for me, my favorite thing about these is just the fit. I'm real particular about the way a pant fits. This is a nice straight leg pant. It fits close to the body, but it's still stretchy and moves with you and breathes well. Those of you that are familiar with Fjällräven, they use the G1000 material through a lot of their pants. This pant uses portions of it that are that material, so it's got a couple of front-facing thigh pockets, which have got zippers, which are the G1000, and then it's also got these articulated knee pieces, which are made from that same material, which is great for durability. But the rest of the pant is this kind of a stretchy, lightweight, breathable nylon. These pants fit great. I love the fact that in the calf, you've got some added protection in the kick plate portion, so where your feet rub together for wear and tear. You've also got the ability to kind of shrink those in and taper them a little bit at the bottom so that you've not got extra material swishing around, making other noise. I love the way this pant fits. It's got side zips, which I should touch on. Early season hunts, you definitely want the ability to dump body heat. So you've got that nice zip on both sides to dump body heat. So I'm really excited about this Keb Agile pant. I've got a couple of pair. I got them in green. I've got them in kind of a charcoal gray and black. That's going to be my pant again for this year. I just love that pant. New for this year, I'm using the Kodiak belt by Archery Gear. This belt is pretty low profile. It's really thin. Probably the greatest thing about this belt is that it's multi-purpose. You've got this sharpening stone on the back of the belt buckle, and you've also got a leather strap here. So if you need to hone and fine-tune your blade when you're working on an animal, it gives you that option. So I love pieces of gear that give you multiple uses, which this Archery belt will do for you. Moving over to insulation pieces. First, I'll touch on these gloves. This is an Outdoor Research gripper sensor glove. The sensor part of it being the fingertips of the thumb and the pointer finger here. Those will work with your smartphone. So if you're out in the field, you're using your goHUNT maps and you're trying to find your next spot, this is a great little option which will work with your screen. This glove is relatively stretchy. It's got light insulation. It's not too heavy. Those early season archery hunts, you don't really need a heavy glove typically. Mostly you just need something to take the bite off in the morning as you're glassing or if you're packing around your bow and you've got your hands exposed. Outdoor Research makes phenomenal gloves. If you haven't checked out their glove selections, I highly recommend it. Outdoor Research gloves are awesome. Moving into insulation, jackets, Sitka, this is the Sitka Ambient Hooded Jacket. This was just launched a couple days ago. It's got this nice fleecy backing to it. This jacket feels extremely warm for the weight, so it's got a great warmth to weight ratio. This is a quarter zip pullover. It's got a nice pocket in the front. Front-facing material is really quiet, so it's really quiet. It's going to be a great option for bow hunters. This comes in pyrite, open country, and also subalpine. I've got one here in pyrite, which is this nice green olivey color. Really excited about that insulation piece. Supposed to move moisture really well and be breathable and lightweight and dry quick. So I'm excited about this ambient jacket from Sitka. Other insulation pieces, Stone Glacier Grumman Down hoodie or jacket. Really lightweight, really warm for what it is. When you're picking your gear for bow hunting, backpack hunting especially, you know, warmth to weight ratio is something that you have to think about and consider. This Grumman Down hoodie jacket is great from Stone Glacier. Down pants, maybe overkill for early season archery hunts, but I love down pants. They're great for at night when you're around the camp. I have had some archery hunts in September that have dropped 5-6 inches of snow, and I've seen single digits on archery hunts in September, so I really like a down pant. The Western Mountaineering flight pant weighs next to nothing. You know, it's really lightweight and it provides a lot of warmth for what it is, so I highly recommend down pants. Like I said, maybe overkill for some, but for me, you know, I'm always carrying down pants and they pack down next to nothing. Rainwear, I think you ought to have some rainwear. It's not uncommon in the high country in September to get those afternoon thunderstorms that can really dump, that can ruin your hunt if you're not protected from the rain. So I use Sitka Dew Point rainwear, which is their lightweight packable option. I got a Dew Point jacket, Dew Point pants. You know, those things always go in my backpack and those keep me in the hunt when otherwise I may have to hole up and quit. That's my clothing system for the year. Like I said, it's worth thinking about, kind of plan out your own system. Next, I'm going to jump to my optics and run through what I'm using for optics this year. All right, I'm going to run you through my optics setup for the year. Might look like a lot for a typical archery elk hunt, but I have some reasons for the decisions I've made in optics. I will call out first the fact that I am carrying a spotting scope. I think probably a lot of guys do not, or probably don't even need to carry a spotting scope on a rut archery elk hunt. You know, if you're chasing bugling bulls, you may not need to do so. For me, where I've got that early August to kind of early September Utah elk tag, I like carrying a spotting scope because there's a lot of times early in that hunt when those bulls might still be bachelored up and you might be hunting spot and stock archery elk. So I do like having a spotting scope. This is my favorite spotting scope. I've had it for a bunch of years. It's a Swarovski ATS HD, so it's the HD 65 angled spotting scope. Not the ATX, it's the older version. I've had it for quite a few years. I do keep that thing in pristine condition, or as pristine as I can, by carrying it in a case. So this case is an Outdoor Vision Swarovski spotting scope cover. It just keeps that investment clean, free of dirt and debris. Again, it's a little added extra weight, but it does protect my investment. And you cannot beat good glass. I've said it a bunch, you cannot beat good glass. Buy once, cry once, in my opinion, for optics. Moving over into some accessories, I do use a binocular tripod adapter. I would say this is one of the most critical pieces of equipment in a Western big game hunter's arsenal. You can't kill what you can't see, and a pair of binoculars on a tripod and hours spent behind those is going to serve you very well. So this is the Leica Stabilite binocular adapter. It's just got a rubber strap that goes up on over the top. The thing I like about this is that I don't have to carry anything attached to my binoculars, like a stud mounted to the front. It will fit multiple sizes of binoculars, so you can fit a 12 by 50 or a 10 by 50 or even a 15 by 56 set of binoculars for you guys that are hunting coos deer or mule deer. So that's a great little binocular adapter. I do quite a bit of digiscoping, especially when I'm hunting elk on a tag like the one I have in Utah. You know, it took me a bunch of years to draw this permit, so I want to make sure I make the most of that moment and capture, you know, digital footage as I can through my spotting scope. So I like this little phone cam, which is made by Tines Up, a local company out of Utah. Really good guys, and they make a great adapter. It's a universal adapter, so you can screw that thing to fit any size of spotting scope. It comes with a little tiny adapter here that you put on the back of your phone case. This is all aluminum construction, and it just simply screws into the back of that, and it makes really nice digiscoping. It's a really nice digiscoping option for you guys that are wanting to get footage of your hunts. Moving over to tripods. So this is a new set of legs for me. This is the Gitzo Traveler GT 1545 TUS. So good, you know, good luck remembering that. We don't have a ton of you know, Gitzo products in the shop, so you'll still be able to find this fairly easy if you're looking for it. Kind of the things to remember about it: relatively lightweight. It's like 2 pounds 5 ounces for just the legs. This is the 3 leg section option of this tripod. I like less leg sections because it retains the overall diameter of those lower legs. So I feel like it's a little bit more stable, even, you know, at full height. You know, this tripod will max out at about 60 inches. So even for me at 6'2" with an angled spotting scope, I can stand and glass through this with no issues whatsoever. So the head is a Gitzo GHF 2W head. It's a fairly robust head. It's a magnesium alloy, so it should be super durable, which is ultimately, like I said, what I'm looking for in a tripod head. Overall weight on it is about 1.25 pounds. It's got a tilt pan option. The thing I like about it is it's got these big wheels that kind of sit on the outside that are very easily manipulated, even with gloves. You can open and lock that thing down for your pan and your tilt. It's got a big forward-facing handle. I can move that thing either backward or forward, depending on, you know, your glassing needs. I like that thing out front. You know, overall weight on this tripod, it's not as lightweight as some of the other options that we have in the shop, whether that's a Slick or a Surrey. But for me, I'm looking for stability. I'm looking for longevity. So I'm really excited about this tripod setup. It's spendy, so it just is what it is. You know, you get good gear, it costs money. But I love this setup, and I think it's going to serve me really well for this year. All right, so that's my tripod setup. Finally, I'm going to touch on my binoculars and my binocular harness and rangefinder. So rangefinder, I'm a Leica fan. This is a Leica Rangemaster 2400. I upgraded eventually. I upgraded finally from the Leica 1000, which I had for years and years. This just gives me a little more added range for rifle hunting. It has the angle compensation. It's got the red reticle inside, which is great for early mornings and evenings. Just a really nice rangefinder. One thing I really like about it is how light the button is to actually get a range. It's not as stiff, so you know there's a lot less handshake when you range, which is important. You know, when you're in the heat of the moment, when you're bow hunting and you need to get an accurate range, you want less movement in your hand, and also, you know, for getting an accurate range. So I love that little rangefinder. I do use a tether, so this is a marsupial small tether which attaches to the rangefinder pouch. I always keep this thing on a tether. I don't ever want to open up and, you know, dump it and lose it. I have to have my rangefinder. I would say that's probably one of the most critical pieces of gear for your eventual success when you're archery hunting. You have to have an accurate range. I keep my rangefinder in a rangefinder pouch on my bino harness that you can see. I've tried just about all of them, everything from Stone Glacier, marsupial, you know, Mystery Ranch, and I've settled on the Outdoor Vision. My personal opinion is that the design of it is the best. Specifically, it's the best for this rangefinder. So if you use a Leica Rangemaster rangefinder, it fits like a glove inside this Outdoor Vision Sightline rangefinder pouch. The other thing I like is the magnets in this pouch. You've got a front magnet which keeps that thing open when you need it. There's a lot of times when you just want to very quietly pull your rangefinder out, slide it back in without messing with the lid. That magnet ensures that you can do that. It also has a magnet on the back that keeps that thing closed when you need it completely, covered. Moving over to my binoculars. Once again, I'm a Leica fan. This is a Leica Noctivid 10 by 20 or 10 by 42. I think every Western big game hunter should have a set of 10 by 42 binoculars around your neck. It gives you good magnification and good light and brightness, even in low light. So 10 by 42 Leica Noctivids. Binocular harness. I've tried a bunch of them. This is currently the one that I'm using and one of my personal favorites. So this is the Stone Glacier Skyline binocular harness. There's a few features that kind of drew me to it and has kept me using it the last couple of years. One being how lightweight it is. It's a really lightweight option for a binocular harness. Two, I can get this thing further up my chest and it stays secure higher up on my chest. I hate a binocular harness that sags down lower on my chest. I want to keep that thing high, which this gives me the ability to do so. And then three, I really like the way that the lid closes. So, it opens forward, so I've got easy one-handed access to my binoculars. And I also have the ability to pull this up and over my optics and secure it on the back side of this little lip that sits on the back side of your binoculars. The reason I like that, and it's important, is that when you're stalking, if you're bent over, your binoculars aren't going to fall out. You can pull that up and over, and they stay close to your chest and secure. As always, I always have a little liquid smoke in the front pouch of my binocular harness. You have another pocket on the other side for elk calls or another thing of smoke if you need it. You've got a couple of tabs here on the bottom. If you want to add a chest rig for your pistol, you can do so. So that's my optic setup. Gitzo tripod, Leica optics, different cases for, my needs. We get a lot of questions about footwear. I did a boot bonanza video where I picked 5 of my favorite boots from the gear shop and tried them on. The one from that video that we did, that piece of content that I really liked, was the Zamberlan Saguaro. I still really love that boot, and that's going to be a boot that I'm going to use on my later season hunts this year, October through, even February on that late season Barbary sheep hunt in New Mexico. But since then, we've had a new boot came in that right away I looked at and thought that would probably be right up my alley. So I bought a pair, I've been wearing them, and I really like them, and I think they're going to be the boot that I'm going to end up using on my early season hunts, so specifically for elk hunting this year. This boot is the Scarpa Mescalito GTX. It's a suede upper. It's got a full rubber rand. Flex on this sole is about a 3 in our flex scale, so kind of middle of the road. It's not super stiff. It's got just enough give that's going to be comfortable over a lot of miles, and it's also going to provide enough support with a real heavy backpack to be comfortable. It's going to take care of your legs over the long haul. So the fit on this boot, it's got a really nice heel pocket and lock. I've had heel blister issues in the past. I'm not getting any issues with this boot. It also has, for me, what feels like a little bit wider forefoot than a lot of the other Scarpa boots that I've tried on in the past. Fits really good, and I'm really looking forward to using this boot this year. I think it's going to be a great option for me. It kind of checks all the boxes for what I'm looking for in an early season archery elk hunting boot. One thing I didn't love about this boot was the insoles that came with it, the factory insoles. I've never been a guy that's like bought aftermarket insoles and put them in my boots. I've just kind of suffered with what came with those. Recently I bought a pair of just Dr. Scholl's that I picked up at a Walmart and thought I'm going to try these out just to see what they feel like. Even though that was a cheap set of insoles, I felt like it did make a more comfortable boot. It really my feet felt better after a long day. So I am going to add a pair of insoles. I'm not going to go crazy. This is a $35 set of insoles that we have in our goHUNT gear shop. It's made by a company called Oboz. They make a couple options, these and then a thermal option. Add a little bit of insulation, but these feel pretty nice. They've got a really nice heel cup. They've got a little bit added cushion through the forefoot. So I'm going to try those this year. Like I said, didn't love the insoles that came with this boot, although I did love the boot. So I think with an insole, it's going to do me right for this year. Socks. I'm a huge Darn Tough fan. This is the Darn Tough 2012. It's a full cushion sock, merino wool. Darn Tough guarantee, last you a lifetime. I don't pack any extra socks, so I can do a 10-day hunt out of a backpack for elk in one pair of socks. I've done that multiple times. I've never had foot issues, blisters, nothing of that nature. I have stopped maybe mid-hunt to wash my socks in a creek and dry them out when I've had good sunshine, kind of rest up, but one pair of socks is it for me. I don't pack any extra socks or underwear for that matter in my backpack. So that's kind of my footwear setup. Scarpa Mescalito GTX boots, oboes, insoles, and a good quality pair of Darn Tough 2012 socks. All right, so believe it or not, this is pretty much my entire camp kitchen and water setup. I hunt pretty simply, I guess you might say, as far as my camp kitchen setup goes. I'll touch on my stove first. So my stove system is comprised of this Seek Outside bale handle titanium mug. You can see the little bell handle that it has there. That comes in handy if you do have to boil water over an open flame, which I have done. Really lightweight titanium mug, and it's been super durable for me. So this is a Soto Windmaster stove. It comes with the little 4-flex pot support. It's really easy. It's got some little grooves here that fits over the top of that. You just slide it on. You can see you've got the fuel regulator as well as the striker there at the top. Inside this little Seek Outside titanium pot, I can fit a 4-ounce isobutane canister. I can typically get maybe 7 to 8 days if I'm boiling water, once, maybe twice a couple days for coffee if I get up early enough to make it. There's a lot of different options for isobutane. My favorite is probably the MSR. This is just what I had available in my little gear shop at home, which is a Jetboil isobutane canister. This is really easy to use. It just screws onto the top. The thing I like about this stove setup is that I can ditch some weight. I can still boil water very efficiently and easily with this stove setup, and I can drop quite a few ounces over, an MSR reactor or a Jetboil, something of that nature. Those are great stoves. This is just what works for me, and I feel like it's an area that I can ditch some weight in my overall system. For a spork, I got a Tokes titanium long handle spork. Works great for getting down into the bottom of those Mountain House or Peak Refuel bags. Weighs next to nothing. It's got some teeth, which is great for cutting up, chicken breast in some of those meals. I'll move over to my water. So moving over to my water setup, I'll talk about treatment as well as kind of what I store my water in and use. Over the years, I've used water bladders, so the platypus bladders. I have had some issues where those have broke, and I've ended up with an entire backpack completely wetted out from water that leaked from a platypus. I still think they make a great product, and I personally wouldn't, hesitate to use one again. I think you'd be okay, but having been burned, I just got a bad taste in my mouth, and ultimately this year I'm going to end up going back to a hard-sided hydration system. So this is just a goHUNT Nalgene bottle. I'll typically take one of these, as well as one of the tall smart water bottles that you can buy at any gas station. The size of those is great. They fit really nicely inside your pack, and like I said, they cost next to nothing, so they're the tall smart water bottles. I often pack this little guy here, which is a 1-liter platypus soft-sided bottle. The reason I pack this is it takes up very minimal space in my backpack. I primarily use this for cooking at night. So if I stop at a stream, I treat some water, I'll typically fill this thing up and I'll use that night for my meal. So I'll pour that into my pot, boil it up, boil it for 4 or 5 minutes, and use that for my meal water every night. And like I said, I primarily pack this because of just the size that it stores. It's really small and low profile. You can keep it out of the way. Last but not least, I'll talk about water treatment. There's kind of two ways to think about water treatment or purification. If you're hunting like more arid environments and there's the potential to be, pulling water out of stagnant sitting water, like out of a pond, in those instances, I highly recommend using a filter like an MSR Sweetwater or a pump. Trail Shot works great for those, really lightweight. Those are great for filtering water. In most of the areas that I'm hunting, which are high country, I've got good moving, clean water. I'm not so much worried about filtering it. I'm more worried about purifying it so that I don't get any kind of, diseases like Giardia. So for me, I always treat my water. Most of the time I don't filter it at all, like I said, unless I'm hunting those arid environments. So for treating, purifying my water, I use the little Aquamura drops. So you've got two little bottles here, a part A and a part B. They also have a little canister that those come with that you can mix them in. So it typically takes 7 drops of A, 7 drops of B per liter of water treatment. And you just measure those out, drop those in the little canister here. You give it some time. It'll kind of turn kind of a yellow color when it's ready. You dump that into your water, mix it up. I think you let it sit for about a half hour, and then it's good enough to drink at that point. I don't notice any taste issues with these. I often carry little drink mix packets, so it kind of masks the taste, but personally, I don't notice any foul odor or taste with these treatment drops. Other things that I will often carry just in case as a backup, I carry these little aqua tabs, which is like your typical iodine tablets that you can drop in water to treat it. Those weigh next to nothing. I mean, they're grains, so it's always good to have a backup. And then finally, another water purification device that I carry that doesn't weigh a lot is this little roving blue ozone pen. It's battery operated, so it's got a battery. You can recharge it with a little micro USB. You just simply click the button, stick it inside your water, stir it around until the blue light goes off, and that's going to treat your water. I've used this for a bunch of years without issues at all. It's been great for me. It also weighs next to nothing and takes up almost no space in my backpack. Is it overkill? I've essentially got 3 means of purifying water if need be. It might be. I could probably ditch this, and sometimes I do, or I ditch the drops and I'll just take one or the other. But in reality, I think this is a really important area to think about when you are hunting, because if you get sick, if you get Giardia, it can ruin your hunt. You're back into a hospital and on, antibiotics at that point to take care of whatever, issues you got going on with your stomach. So for me personally, it's not worth risking. I'd rather, take care of my water. All right, so if you stuck with me, that's pretty much my entire gear list for elk for 2022. I've got a great fall lined out for September. I'm really excited. I'm ready for cooler temperatures and bugle and bulls. Like I said, we have a collection of all the gear that I carry that we have in the goHUNT gear shop, and you can jump onto the shop page, find my collection, and purchase gear that I use directly from that collection. As well, we're trying to get subscribers. We want to hit that 100,000 mark. So please, if you're not a subscriber, just smash that subscribe button and help us out. We would love that. If you got questions about my gear or any of the gear that we have in the goHUNT gear shop, please drop a comment below. We'd be happy to answer that for you. I'm ready to go elk hunting. Good luck to you guys this year in the elk woods.